Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our show again. It's been a long time. You know, we have a little extra time this evening, so I get to talk for a while, and then we'll get to turning. I just wanted to start by saying that, I think some of you heard me a long time ago that in my woodworking journey, I never ever wanted to turn, because it just didn't make sense to me that the chunk of wood should be spinning rather than the tool that I'm attacking with being spinning. But probably about 10 years ago, one of my nephews who lives down in Springfield bought a nice big grizzly lathe and all sorts of tools and just everything, and he seemed to be having such a great time with it. He made some cool stuff, and I thought, maybe I should try that. I had a lathe, but I'd never used it, and so I got it out and kind of used it and haven't been able to stop since. However, my nephew did. I would say probably 3 or 4 years into it, the lathe started gathering dust. It wasn't making anything anymore. And I talked to him at Christmas and this and that. No, I haven't been out there. But one of the things that seems to be different between him and me is that he's out by himself. He found other things to do, and he went on to do that. And when I look at what I do and why I do it, I try to do stuff to impress you guys. I see things that you do, and I think, well, I want to try to do that, and I want to try to do something else. And I keep coming back every month, and you guys keep doing other things, and I keep trying to keep up. And I think that my growing interest in turning is tremendously due to you guys being here. So keep coming back and keep me going, and as long as you can do it, I'll do it. And we're always showing things, we're always trying to do something different. I think Dale, several months ago, brought in the jar lids. And I thought, well, that was kind of cool, and I did one. And I know Mike and the guys started seeing them on YouTube, and it just started going. And we had the wood show a couple weeks ago, and as Mike said, they had some of the lids out there, and people were getting disturbed because we wouldn't sell them to them. And I think that's what we'd like. I know some of you sell your stuff, and I'd kind of like to do that sometime in the future. And it's neat to have wood. People like wood. So please keep bringing your inspirations and keep giving ideas to everybody else and taking other people's ideas and taking it farther and bringing it up to the library. So, so when you start looking into these lids, just like everything else, there are videos on YouTube on how to do it. Some people have the 2 7/8 inch Forstner bit to drill a hole in there. Some people don't, so you drill and you measure and you drill and you check and you drill, and the thing is too big. So you take it off and you start drilling or cutting again. Probably get one that the lid goes in there, and then you try to think about how you want the top. And so you see you have some with the finial on top and some with the handle built into it. And they don't all have to be just the regular mason jar. With mason jars, I think you have 2 sizes. You have the regular and the wide mouth. So you go get the rings and you do your measurements. I found the big jar at Walmart for $5 and made a segmented ring to make the lids for on that one. Yeah. And when I put the solid piece of walnut in the middle and started smoothing it out, I realized that I had used it on a faceplate before, so it had 4 screw holes in it. and you'll see there are 4 little pins through there, so there's something there that you'll never see the screw holes. So what we're going to do tonight is, Gary's got one chopped up over here. I think he's going to kind of show how it's all shaped and put together. We're going to flip it up. You're going to make the hole in the bottom, right? You're going to make the hole in the bottom. Okay. Anyway, these guys are going to do some turning. And once they get it down to the shape, I'm going to go back to what I was talking about earlier with contrast. I think he's got a pretty cool piece of wood here with contrasting grain with dark stripes and light wood. I have one that I've, like this over there, that's just a smooth piece of mahogany, and you're probably getting the idea that I don't care much for mahogany. But it needs something of contrast, so I've got a spiraling tool, and we're going to dig into it and see what that does too. So, is there anything else you need to do before we get started?
Yeah, this is just a second in the team demonstrations that we were trying to set up. I know Vaughn and Mel and I lost my train of thought. Yeah, him back there. Anyway, they did one a couple of months ago and put out the challenge for us to put together a team. So I put together this team, and hopefully you guys will find a team of your own and do something like what we're doing. But this is just the second, and hopefully more this year.
This is pretty important to us. We always like to have something to look at, say, how somebody else is doing something, and it'd be really, really cool to have high-dollar professionals come in here every month to show us something new and different. But the high-dollar part is always an issue for us. We're not collecting $300 dues and not being able to fly people in and spend the night in the hotel and all that stuff. So we rely heavily on the membership to do some of this. And it doesn't have to be complicated, doesn't have to be segmented or big or anything like that. Everybody has a different way of doing things, and as long as it's a safe way, everybody else would like to see how you're doing it. So grab a friend, grab a couple of friends, grab somebody you don't know, and get together on a Saturday or something and come up with a program and contact the guys and say, we don't want to do this, but we will do it, and we'll appreciate it. So go with that.
Okay, Gary.
Okay, I say about the wood turning. And I've worked with wood all my life. I was a builder for about 40 years doing residential and commercial construction. Did a lot of custom furniture building. Down in Branson, some of the condominiums down there, some of those rich people wanted custom furniture made. I made the furniture for them. But when I got into wood turning, and I hadn't done any since I'd been in college, and one thing that I have learned by looking at all this nice stuff these guys make, I know absolutely nothing about wood. These guys, I'm ashamed to even bring some of my work because of the great work that these guys are doing. Now, it's talking about contrast on the lids. I had a set that I made and then walked right out and forgot to bring them, that I used walnut, and I took some 1/4-inch Purple Heart and glued to it and turned it and put a finial on it, and it turned out beautiful. They were really good looking lids. And actually, once you get started doing this, it's fun and it is really easy. If I can do it, anybody can do it. So we're going to start. Mike, do we have our, did you bring your calipers? We're going to start roughing it out. I seem a little nervous. I'm not used to doing this kind of stuff. Because what I do now is a lot of teaching, but it's not wood.
ground now, and as soon as he gets his very legs in, then he'll cut the tenon so that we can chuck this one in. There's all kinds of different methods of doing it. You've got the method that we demonstrated here, where you cut a tenon and put it into a chuck, or if you want to glue a piece on for your finial, you can also glue a piece on, but you want to be careful. What I do is I'll cut the pin right onto my finial and then drill my 1/2-inch hole in, stick it in, and I want to get plenty of glue around this outside because that's what's going to be holding it while you're trying to drill this in.
And if you want to take a shortcut, maybe I shouldn't tell this, but on mine, when I take a 4-inch block and I will take a 3.5-inch, or I forget what size it is, 3.5-inch. Of course, I've got big hole saws that I used in plumbing and electrical work, and I will cut my blank out on that. Got the hole in the middle for to glue up, and then put it on my lathe and turn it. And when you do it that way, man, you can turn out a lot of lids real fast because it's already smoothed out. So all you got to do is cut it down to size, drill the hole. I've got a big Forstner bit, drill the hole in it. You know, in 20 minutes you got one made. So now we're going to put a tenon on this.
How else would you mount that to the lathe? Does everybody do between centers a lot? I think I did one where I did a screwed it on, and turned it back around. After I made the tenon, I turned it around and then hollowed that out, so the screw hole went away. But typically, what I'm doing now, what I've done is last ones, I have a set of coal jaws, the big ones. So I'll put a square block in there, bring the tailstock up to hold it, and then round off the tenon on that, and then put it around it, turn it around, put it in the chuck.
I turn it inside, for an expansion.
Yeah. Oh, do you like going inside as opposed to making a tenon?
I just make with parting tools, make a groove for the truck jaw,
Oh yeah.
and then expand it, and then turn it around. You can round it and drill out the center, the center and everything.
Yeah.
And you can take a block, 1.5 inches, 1.5 by 2 inches, glue it to a piece, and then hold it with your jaws. Do that part, and then flip it around and expand your chuck jaws like that.
Yeah.
That's basically what we're getting ready to do.
And which is the right way?
So that we can drill the hole. that last cut yet.
I've made a conscious decision not to make the last cut ever again. Yeah, but I always avoid that last cut where it goes.
After you do a few of these, you get to where you can do one in about 10-15 minutes.
A lot of times it takes longer to get the wood ready.
Yeah,
Turn than just actually.
that's bad. Got it where you want it?
Yeah, I need to square that out a little bit better.
Is that, Mike, that's out of one of your trees?
Yeah,
What is that?
that's maple, soft maple.
Salted maple?
Silver maple? Yeah, silver maple.
Yeah, we didn't have any wood for the demo, so Mike cut down a tree in his front yard.
Okay, Mike's turn.
Mike? Okay. Come back here.
Sounds very small.
Uh-oh, broke it. A lot of different ways you can do this, as everyone can attest to. I think Mel cuts his out like you would a bowl. I cheat a little bit and get in a hurry. I don't have the right size. I think you say it takes a 3 1/8, and I don't have one that big. So I use, I think it's 2 1/8. But it gets me close and lets me get started. Now what I'll do, first thing, is take and mark the outside of where I want. And I've already set this to the outside of my ring so that the ring will fit properly.
Do you face that off first?
I'm sorry?
Do you face that off first?
Do I take it off?
Face it.
Oh, face it off. Oh, I could. I don't have to,
Normally
but
you
I
don't.
could.
Why don't you just do it the way you do it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Why don't you do it the way you normally do it?
Okay. Now that sets my outside perimeter. From the ones that I have cut before, I have to go about an 1/8 inch deeper than what my bed is. I'm going to go just a little bit more. I can always clean up the outside, but I got plenty of width here to play with. Okay, now I've got my hole pretty much as deep as I want it. So now from here, I have heard this thing called a lot of different things, and some of them not good, but I've heard this called a skew, a square skew. I've heard it called a bedan. I've heard it called a negative rake scraper. But for me, it's a cutoff tool. Tonight, it's a cutoff tool. And we're going to cut this down and get it as wide as we want it at this point. One of the main reasons I like to do it this way, instead of using a Forstner bit, is that I can make it as tight as I want on the outside of this ring. And then just have to take and cut a lip on the inside just at the very top where this rolled over part goes. That way I get it just as tight as I can get it, and it doesn't take a lot of glue to hold it that way. The glue that they usually use to hold it is tacky glue, and I've heard guys have trouble with the tacky glue and they went to silicone. But I've had good luck with the tacky glue so far. But I just got started turning it too, so I may change my mind in the future. But we're going to get this set up where it fits the way we want it to. Also, I'll inside, this would have got leaving the outside intact. Got the outside screw to the
Mike, would you go ahead and level off the,
I'm sorry?
would you go ahead and level off the broken part and then make
Yeah,
the hole a
yeah.
little bit deeper?
Yep, I will. Just about there, okay? Okay. Now all I gotta do is make my step down for the rolled over ring. And they're tight. Fits down in there perfect, and I can cut just a little bit off of this outside just to make it flush up a little bit better. Fits all the way to the bottom. Looks good, fairly flush out here, looks great. From this point, I will take it loose. What'd I do?
Said not everybody can afford a gold chuck.
Neither do I. Two's on my limit. Now I'll reverse chuck this. And all I wanted is just tight enough to hold it. I don't want it really tight. I'm always afraid I'll take it and explode it, which I have done from time to time. holds it where you want it, and from here you can go ahead and finish it up, Mike. Or you want me to take it on down?
Let me see what I can do with it. I don't know. It's your piece of wood, right?
Hey, it gets blown up, I got more.
Oh, I was thinking Mike was just supposed to.
Okay, I like really short lids. One of the things we have to think about when you've hollowed out the inside is like how far the hollow goes up in there. And so I suppose one way to do that is made it about this depth. So I have about 2 inches that I can cut off and still not throw things all over the place. So we'll be someplace in there. Although I like big bulky ones, so I probably won't get too close to that anyway. I haven't sharpened this in a couple of months, so we've got another 40 minutes. It may take this long.
Well, the grinder's right over there.
Wow, 1800 RPM. I don't know if my lathe will go that fast. So what do we want this to look like?
Elephant.
Okay, well, let's smooth it up here just a little bit. This one is a Pinnacle. It's one of their Woodcraft's cryogenic stuff, frozen. It'll come back to life in 100 years. That followed the bevel all the way in. I've heard you're supposed to do it that way. His chuck comes all the way out here to the edge, so I can't really get down in there too far, so we'll cut it a little short.
They're going to be one of those Russian towers.
Looks like it. I didn't know I was supposed to plan this beforehand. You think this will hold it if I pull this away?
Sure.
To do the top part here?
What I do is I get it as close as I can, and then all I do is just kind of lightly touch the end.
very small one.
Take light cuts.
Light cut.
As you can see from the different ones that we've got, between what I've done and Mike's done, and I'm sure what Gary's done, the only limit here is to what it looks like is your imagination. You can do just about anything you want with it.
Depends on your tool control.
That's right.
Your tool control.
Yeah.
That too.
Gonna make the signature button on the top instead of the bottom this time.
It's hard to put on the bottom, isn't it? Not doing the final cut. However, one of the things we talked about earlier was contrast, and I'll stop this. I think the piece of wood has its own contrast. So I may not want to do anything with this one. See, something like this will have its own built-in contrast. So you've got the light and the dark, you sand it up and you finish it, and you have a nice piece of something that attracts people's attention. But if you have something like this one, it's just a plain piece of wood with nothing in here of interest, then maybe you want to put something on here that creates a contrast. Would you mount this one up?
Sure.
I have the same chuck, but I don't need it. Does anybody have one of these?
Hold it still, Mike.
Come on up.
You how to use it. He said he had one.
I've had this for some time. I've used it once.
Hey, you got your teamwork done now.
Right.
If you want the other one of the other
No,
plates.
I just want.
Okay, I oiled it up. So we got. I tried it once, and this is what I came up with. Of course, at first I did it at high speed, and and the wheel actually came off and went stuck in the wall. So you want to do it at high speed.
I did just that.
So then I went to the YouTube thing, and they said turn it way down, so we go way down on the speed, and it kind of came out all right. Some of it overlapped, but it's one of those things that takes practice. So show me what to do with it, and I'll go home and practice.
Let me see what you got there. And why don't you like that?
Well, they started to overlap out here on the outside. I don't know if that's what it was supposed to do. I didn't get a solid pattern out of it.
Mike, why don't you slide that tailstock back for me? Thank you.
Do you have enough surface there that we can face it down and if we,
Oh yeah. You go at it 2 or 3 times, I think. Now this comes with a flat bar that wraps on there so that you can set it at a specific angle and ride it across the tool rest to keep it at that angle. One of the things I saw was not to use that because you want to kind of rotate as you go around. But again, I don't know. It's going to take some practice.
Good.
Look at that!
What I found, since the thing is going, in here the surface feet per minute is much less than it is out here. If you try to carry the spiral all the way out, is when you run into trouble. So you either need to stop it and start over again, or
So you want to just do little segments at a time.
yeah,
And that way it'll be lined up with
right.
what you're doing there.
Wow. Now you can do it, Mike.
Guess what I'm telling my wife when I get home? Look what I did!
You see, the problem with getting one of these, and I mentioned this the other night at the Kansas City Club, is just like you got a hammer, everything's a nail. You get one of these things, and then everything needs spirals on it.
There's another piece missing off that in there.
Well, the flat part.
Yeah.
But I kind of agree with what he's talking about, is especially on stuff like this.
Yeah.
If you're doing a spiral along a cylinder, then the flat part is fairly handy.
Okay.
What speed are you running?
Before I had up about 800, I've taken it down a little bit because I'm moving out. I think I got off there a little bit, but it's still not too bad.
I can't understand why you want to make it all smooth and rough it all up.
Well, for me, it's the contrast issue.
Contrast.
It was smooth and it just wasn't attractive to me, so this way it'll give me something to look at.
And then, the experts would come in and tell you you're supposed to put little rings in there. And yeah, see, it's got kind of a little pattern out there, but it's not too bad.
Can you carry it right on around?
Well, you could, but
Have you got the
I think I'm going to
texturing
stop
tool?
while I'm ahead.
I have 2 more wheels. I assume one of them.
If you take the tape, like if you're doing a spiral and it messes up on you, kind of doesn't look like you want it, you can take the texturing tool and go over that spiral and it'll clean it all up, and it's called roping. It makes it look like a piece of rope.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
But then you should have a tool.
Now,
Make these lines in here. See this right here?
Yeah.
Kind of jumped on.
Yeah.
Mike's
The
really,
one thing you want to watch with those is that screw is brass. So a magnet won't pick it up. So you lose it in a pile of shavings, you go down your hands and knees. Ask me how I know.
Time of experience, huh?
Experience.
And this one, you can flip it at the speed up.
Now, how fast would you have done those?
About 400.
Okay.
Hold that tool under that camera.
just put it on tool rack, just like you're gonna use it.
Oh, like we're
Yeah, the difference between these two is this one's flat on one side and beveled on one side and wider.
It's a cutting tool.
This one is beveled on both sides, comes down to a point.
Like a
Like a
cowboy
pattern.
spur.
Yeah.
Kind of like a cowboy spur.
Yeah.
You don't have to go real fast with this, but you can do this at about 600 or 700 RPM.
Are you going over all of it again, or just in between?
Yeah, going to go over the, going inside out. It doesn't really matter. You can go back and forth. And then if you take a tool and make your groove in there, you can kind of round that like
Yeah.
a pointed tool on each one of these layers and then kind of make it like that,
Yeah.
bevel it, and that gives you a new pattern. And even if your lines are messed up, you can't tell it.
There you go.
How do you know that?
So then, I guess should we go over this with some light sanding to smooth
Yeah,
out the top edges?
Yeah, real, fine sandpaper or steel wool, or a natural bristle brush.
Oh,
That'll work,
yeah,
yeah.
so seen that one. Okay, so there we go.
You did good.
Thank you. Nice up.
You're gonna put your name in that and take credit for it now.
You bet. I looked on Etsy, there are some of these on sale on there, anywhere from $10 to $45. Don't know what they're selling, but that's what they've got them in there for. One of the guys doesn't glue his rings in. He just includes the rings and says if you want to glue them, you can. And we were playing with this the other day, and even if you don't want a ring in there, you just want a lid that just goes on there so you can get to your M&Ms faster, then you don't have to do that. It still fits pretty nicely on there. So, anything else?
I think you had Anthony over here Friday.
Oh.
There you go. There you go. Merry Christmas.